Welcome to the Rewrite Your Life Story podcast, hosted by your favourite duo, Stephen and Charlene. They're here to help you transform your mindset and create a positive outlook on life. Are you tired of feeling stuck and unfulfilled? Are you ready to take control of your thoughts and emotions and rewrite your story? Well, you're in the right place. They will be sharing inspiring stories, practical tips, and expert advice to help you on your journey to a better you. You'll learn how to let go of negative self-talk, embrace your strengths, and focus on the good things in life. Each episode will be joined by amazing guests who have rewritten their own life stories and are now living their best lives. From successful entrepreneurs to accomplished athletes, we'll bring you stories of resilience, courage, and triumph. So grab a cup of coffee, get cozy, and get ready to be inspired. Tune in every week for a new episode of the Rewrite Your Life Story podcast. Let's rewrite our stories together and make every day count.
In today's podcast, we interview George Siderias. At age 24, he was diagnosed with stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He had tumors in his chest and abdomen and began chemotherapy immediately. Join us today as we listen to his story.
Before we get started, we want to remind you that the information presented in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and their guests are their own and do not represent the views of any organisation or entity. Additionally, any information presented should not be taken as legal, medical, or financial advice. Always consult with a licensed professional in the respective field for any advice or guidance. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's dive into today's topic and learn how to transform our lives through positive thinking and taking control of our stories. Thanks for joining us.
Before we begin, we want to give you a heads up. We may be discussing some sensitive and personal topics that might bring up some strong emotions or discomfort. Our goal is to create a safe and supportive space, but we know that everyone's experiences and triggers are different. If you start feeling overwhelmed or triggered during an episode, remember to prioritize your well-being. It's totally okay to hit pause and take a breath. Your self-care is important, and looking after your mental and emotional health should always come first. If you ever need extra support, we encourage you to reach out to a mental health professional or someone you trust. You're not alone, and there are resources available to help you on your personal journey. Thank you for joining us on this incredible ride with the Rewrite Your Life Story podcast. Together we'll navigate life's challenges and rewrite our narratives with strength and resilience.
Hey everyone, it's Stephen and Charlene from the Rewrite Your Life Story, and today we're super excited. We've got George Siderias from F3 Coaching, all the way from Bergen County in New Jersey.
Bright and early here.
Bright and early here, late here. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. And I'm really interested because when I was reading your bio and when I was reading through your stuff, if anyone is the epitome of strength, epitome of being a survivor, it's you, George. So let's delve straight into your story. Tell us a bit about it, you.
Let's do it. I'm excited. Thank you again for having me and giving me the opportunity to kind of, again, share my story and hopefully impact your listeners. So again, I got a lot going on. I guess we'll dive into pieces of it. But again, I think at the end of the day, I'm a survivor. I was diagnosed with stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma at 24 years old. I'm actually coming up on in next month is 18 years as a survivor. And that kind of came out of nowhere. Just again, I was starting in the financial services industry and I was just having issues with my back and I didn't know what was going on. And I went to the doctor and he was like, hey, here's a muscle relaxer. Like you might have lifted or kind of bent down the wrong way. And kind of pain went away. But then I started having to take like a lot of Tylenol. Like it just kind of came back and I couldn't even sit in my chair at my office. I was like, something's up. So I went to the doctor again and we did an MRI. And typically when you go for those tests, they like, hey, we'll contact you in like 48 hours. It'll be a couple of days. I went Wednesday morning. I got a call Wednesday night and they were like, hey, the doctor's got to see you tomorrow. And I was like, okay, well, that's probably not good. I'm like, my back's probably in bad shape. I probably need to have back surgery. So I go in and the doctor's like, yeah, The radiologist took a look at your results and your lymph nodes are swollen all throughout your body. So for lymphoma, they stage it as how many different areas essentially the tumors are in your body. So I had it in my chest, abdomen, and groin. So right from there, I'm like, what do we have to do? He was like, well, we got to biopsy one, and then we got to start treatment. So I went through a couple different doctors. So we just get a feel for it, kind of understand what that process was going to be. And then I started chemo probably like a month after. There was no radiation because it was in multiple spots. They couldn't just kind of zap in multiple spots. So chemo was the way to go. And we essentially did 6 months of that and then came through there. And then about 2 years after, I had another scare because I thought it came back in my kidney. I was working out one day and I started peeing blood at the end of my workout. And we went to several doctors again, and multiple doctors, they scanned, said, yeah, the cancer's back in your kidneys. We can see it. 10 days later, they gave me an antibiotic, even though nothing showed signs of an infection. They could see that there was something going on in my kidneys. And 10 days later, there was nothing there. Everything was gone. So that spiraled into just the rest of life. I bought a business shortly after, then went into probably the first worst economic time of 2008, 2009, when the real estate boom kind of hit. So I decided to transition and sell my business. So I did that and then got back into the financial services industry. But ever since then, I've continued to fight and survive. Unfortunately, I've gone through just in the last 2 years, a divorce. I have 3 young kids, and I just continued to keep pushing forward, keep learning, keep understanding that mistakes happen for a reason. Things happen for a reason. I'm here today, the best version that I've ever been in my life, 42 years young, about to be 43 next Saturday, actually. So there's a lot to unpack there and a lot that has happened in my short 43 years.
Yeah. Let's go back to your diagnosis and how that affects a 24-year-old, and then we'll dive into the other situations. So as a 24-year-old, life's going ahead, you get this blow. What did that do to you emotionally?
So I think that at the time, I didn't really know any better because it was just me. I had essentially no responsibilities. And I remember I had one cry. I think it was like maybe the night or two after. I was like, okay, here's what we need to do. But in my head, it was, I need to be strong for everyone else. I need to be strong for my mom and my dad. Because now having 3 young kids of my own, I remember the call that the doctor gave when they called my mom. Like, I heard her screaming in the background. So I knew that I needed to be strong for everyone else. I could handle whatever I needed to handle. I still had that Superman mentality at the time, but I just needed to be strong. So I don't think it really hit me at the time, really what I was going through. And I think I've still continued to learn over the last 15, 16 years that I think I'm still learning actually like what that really meant at the time. But my mentality was I just need to be strong. And I think for anyone that's gotten that diagnosis of, hey, you got to, whether it's heart issues, cancer, we obviously know people that have gone through that, but your mental toughness is the most important because any negative thoughts don't help your diagnosis at all. It only hurts it because it's just draining energy out of you. So I would give that recommendation to anyone. Like if you get that news of, hey, you're battling some type of diagnosis that could be, again, dire, whether that's cancer, heart, whatever it is, right? We've gone through it, right, with the pandemic, right? Whatever those things that are going on, you just have to be mentally tough, be able to fight through that. Because again, negative thoughts, negative energy do nothing but burn energy and just waste time. And it does absolutely nothing for you.
George, that's great introspective now. Like you're looking back and you're like, there's mental toughness there and all that. But then you get a second hit at this. And though after 10 days it disappeared, those 10 days would have been pretty long days.
Yeah, I think that was actually the harder one because, again, looking back, it's, hey, you got to do 6 months of chemo the first time. But the second time, so I had a business at that time. And if that diagnosis actually came through, that would have meant 1 year in the hospital doing a bone marrow transplant. So what I did during that 10-day period, so I had gone back. My business was in the martial arts. I opened up a mixed martial art gym because I started training in martial arts when I was 5 and I always had a passion for it. So after the first cancer diagnosis and recovery, I basically said to my mom, my dad, I'm like, hey, you know what? I almost died. I'm just going to do what I want to do. So I said, I'm going to get back into the martial arts. I started training. I knew I needed to be healthy. And what I started to do is I just said, okay, I just need to train. I just need to get back and focus on me when I was waiting for all that information to come back. So it was just in my daily routine. What did I do every day? Did I wake up at the same time? Did I go to the gym? Was I around those positive people? I knew that I just needed to make sure that I was taking care of myself in those moments. Those 10 days were hard. Those 10 days were really the tough ones because it was, okay, like if this comes through, your life is completely going to change again. Again, it was just daily routine. I could not go to my business. I could not take care of my students. I could not do the things I need to do and take care of my responsibilities. So it just comes back to that same part of it. We could either be negative, sit on the couch and sulk, or you can say, okay, here's what's in front of me. I need to put my head down and attack it one day at a time, because I call it now with my clients and even for myself, the pre-thinking, like, hey, what's going to happen tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, does nothing for us. And if we just think any aspect of life, I want to start a business. Well, how am I going to do this? It just stops people. If I want to lose weight, I'm 50 pounds overweight. How am I going to lose 50 pounds? Well, why are we worried about 50? Let's just work on the 1 pound. From a finance perspective, I haven't saved any money for retirement. I need to get to XYZ number. Well, great. Can we save $1? $1 million is so daunting to think about. Why are we thinking about that? Can we control the dollar? Yeah, we can do that, right? Don't buy your Starbucks today. Save that couple of dollars. That's how it is for me. And I don't think I even realized it at the time, where it was just that daily discipline that I just got into that routine. And that's just what I attacked every day.
I know that a lot of listeners might sometimes think that this whole mental toughness might be just focus and just all this positive thinking stuff about, ignoring the bad stuff. So how would you describe it? How would that look like to you?
I have bad days, right? It's not all sunshines and rainbows, right? But I've been through a lot of it. It's not that we're not going to have bad days. The bad days, and I love this because my coach has said this to me all the time. The bad days are the test days. And I love that. We can't, right? We don't live in this utopia, unicorn world where everything's going to be good. There's going to be bad days in business, bad days where our kids are just not listening and doing those. Those are the test days. And it comes back to, again, the daily routine, the daily focus, right? That daily discipline to not let your path go like this. So the bad days are okay. We know we're going to have to overcome things. We know we're going to have bad days, right? There's going to be things that go on that we can't control. It's okay. We can deal with them. We know we're going to get into arguments with our spouse, our partner, our kids. But what's important is, how do we come back to the path? That's where the mental toughness comes in. It's not that we're going to be so mentally tough that nothing's going to break us down. No, we're going to have days when we cry. We're going to have those hard days. We're going to have those hard days where we got to fight the vices, right, that we're addicted to, whether that be alcohol or drugs, the gambling, whatever the hell we have going on. But that's okay. It's, can we understand that we're going to have those bad days and then get right back to the path? So it's not BS. Some people might think it is. And they go, oh my God, you have all this energy. Like even just now, right? So it's early. I was up at 4, my daily routine. I was already at the gym for an hour. I'm on with you guys. We're going to knock out this podcast. And I got to go do my sprint running workout right after this. So it can be done, but do you have it up here? And for me, it just comes down to that daily discipline. What do we need to accomplish today? I don't worry about what tomorrow's schedule is. I need to come back and give everything I have. Like, I was excited to do this. I want to give everything to the both of you for giving me the opportunity. Whatever else I have for the rest of the day, we'll take care of it when it comes up.
I love that, because it's you live in the moment, and that's what's so important. Yeah.
We have to. But I'll be honest, you would think because I've dealt with what I've had to deal with, I kind of lost that though a little bit. Like after, I would say around the 12th or 13th year, like you almost like forget. It's almost like it's so long ago that you almost forget that it's almost like kind of taken for granted. And because of what's happened to me just even recently with my kids, like I've almost reliving it all and being able to tell my story more and understanding more that I have to be more in the moment. I have to be more just, hey, like, what is that day-to-day process that I am taking care of? Because we can sometimes forget and life gets so overwhelming that we kind of lose ourselves sometimes. So I've even more gotten back to just that nothing else really matters except what we're in that moment. And the coaching business has given more of that back to me because I can focus on my clients and making sure they're doing the same things too.
Awesome. George, you describe the 10 days and you describe after it that it was that how it was gone, and you describe that as an act of God. Speak into that for us.
I mean, I don't know what else to equate it to. And I've never been I'm going to call it church go. I've never gone to church. My family grew up in the restaurant business. So on Sundays, like we didn't go to church. We went to work. Like that's just what we did. That's just what we grew up doing. So we never went to church and we were never really spiritual in the definition of it. Hey, we go every Sunday and we do those things. But I've started to more recently get more into the spirituality of things, reading, listening to the Bible, and I really don't even know what it means. I'm very new to it. I don't share a lot of that. I'm just learning and just reading and just seeing what it feels like with me. But I have no other way to describe what happened in those 10 days because one of the doctors who's still a family friend of ours, like my mom and dad go out to dinner with them, he bet his practice. He said, George, this is what it is. The cancer is back on your kidney. There's nothing else that it could be. Another doctor, kidney specialist, it's there. We see it. No signs of infections. And the crazy part is I didn't learn this. When you get a kidney infection, if the doctor taps on your kidney, you're in so much pain that essentially like you would jump. So when the doctor tapped on my kidney, like I didn't feel anything because again, there was no infection there. So they just gave me this antibiotic. Again, that's really more precaution, I guess, just to say, hey, we're checking all the boxes to make sure. And 10 days later, there was nothing on the scans. I just got the chills, even just, and I'm in a sweatshirt too. Like there's no other way to describe it. And again, I think I was so young and so naive at the time. I just didn't even think about it. I just didn't even think about it at all. And what's crazy is after that diagnosis, I had my mixed martial art gym. I was like, okay, we're going to get in the cage and fight because like I did it 2 months later. I had my first cage fight right after because I'm like, okay, someone's talking to me. Let's just go and do something else hard. So I decided to go in the cage and go fight someone. Like total maniac. Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll get into the physical fitness part of it because I'm just doing like other crazy stuff now. It's just, like people are like, really? I'm like, yep, let's just keep doing it.
Your whole coaching has 3 perfect elements to it, but we'll go there in a minute. What are some of the biggest lessons you learned about yourself during that journey?
I'm still learning today, man. It's just, there's unachievable levels. When you think you've gotten to a level, whether that's business related, fitness related, there are no ceilings. Like if you put your mind to something, you can do anything. And that's what I'm learning now. Like I'm about to, right next Saturday, turning 43 years old. I'm just starting. That is literally what has hit me in the last, I'm going to even say 6 months. There are no levels to what you can do. Like I am doing things in the background that I haven't even put out there on social media from a business perspective. Like, why haven't I done this? Why have I been holding back? So there are no levels anymore. That's what I've learned the most. You can be, man, when I just think about the last 2 years and the stuff that I've gone through and I've had people say this, they're like, holy cow, like how are you even still standing? I'm at the highest level right now when most people would have just literally been dead and buried. And I'm just getting started. So it just comes down to your mindset. How hard can you build your mind and how tough can you build your mind to overcome anything?
You spoke about introduction, 3 significant events, the 2 being the 2 cancer diagnoses and the 3rd being your divorce. Obviously, when you say in the last 2 years, you're probably referring to that. Without giving too much personal information, do you want to just tell us a little bit of how that affected you? What were the lessons you learned through that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the mistakes were on me. And not even just, I'll go back to 5 or 6 years ago, just not knowing that spending time and doing date nights with my partner were important. I think we got lost in the hustle and bustle of life. And I've also realized that the people that you are around and surrounded with, your community, are important. I've learned, because I've opened up more in the last couple of years, really more of my network, and understanding that all the successful people are giving you the blueprint. You just have to be around those people. And the people that I were around, it's not that they were bad people, they just didn't know any better. So I didn't really understand the importance of saying, hey, every single week, my partner and I, we need to go have date night for 30, 45 minutes when it's just the both of us talking about our goals and just being us and really continuing to date each other. Now, again, I just didn't know. My dad came here from Europe when he was 8 on a boat and built a huge business. But we grew up, he worked. He wasn't home for dinner. They didn't do date night. Like, that generation didn't do that. We're just learning those things now. So when I look back, it's, man, like, I wish I was able to know the importance of it, that I could get into those networks. So when I look back, those are some of the mistakes that I've made. And unfortunately, it put me into a path of just going down the wrong path and making some bad decisions that ultimately ended my marriage. But the way I look at it, it is an opportunity for me to be better, not only for me, but for my kids, to teach them that, hey, dad made these mistakes, but that mistake does not dictate the rest of my life. And I will own that mistake, and I can't get away from it. And I will have to have those hard conversations with my kids. And guess what? It's okay. Because you know what? Life is going to be hard for them. They're 7, 4, and 2. Whatever it is, life is going to be hard. They're going to meet bad people. They're going to have a bad boss. Things are going to be hard. School's going to be hard. Sports are going to be hard. It's not going to be sunshine and rainbow. So for me, I've taken those things, those bad things that have happened, and I'm going to use them as teaching moments. I'm going to use them for teaching moments for if there is a potential next relationship that I have with someone and not make those mistakes. But what I've also done is I've taken that understanding of, hey, I didn't give the time to my partner, but what I've started to do is now the focus that I give to my kids is more than I ever gave before. Because I know if I get an hour with them, my phone's off to the side and I'm with them. I date them, right? Like, we'll go out and have a day, daddy and daughter day. We're going to have those things, those teaching moments, those little things. So I'm a lot more mindful of that. And I just understand people make mistakes. It's how do you respond from them? And that's in anything, right? Whether it's divorce, you might have picked a bad business partner and things have gone wrong. That's okay. Did we learn from it? And did we get better from it? That's the only thing that's important, right? So again, just because you made a mistake or things happen, that does not dictate your life, right? There's people that have gone to prison for things and come out and just completely changed their life. So it's really about, again, it comes back to up here. How are we taking that moment and making a teachable moment to be able to give back? And then for me, I really want to instill that in my clients and get them to understand, go date your partner. Block that time out every single week. Don't make the same mistakes that I did, because if I could look back and I had somebody coaching me at that time, I wouldn't have done those things. So what I've done is I've removed ego away from all of it, because it was all about me before. How do I build? How do I build? How do I build? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do that? And what I've done is I've changed the man inside here. It's not that I don't want those big things, but I've changed what I've wanted internally for me and what's the most important.
A couple of things. It sounds like, one, you've learned from your mistakes, which is great.
Yes.
But it also sounds like you've forgiven yourself and now you can move on and use them as lessons. What would you say to someone who is stuck? Like they might have done something 10, 20 years ago. They're stuck in the guilt. They're stuck in the shame. They may have learned, but then because they're stuck in guilt and shame, it's a reoccurring pattern.
Yeah. And that's hard. And I had those days too for the mistakes and like the moments where you would cry. It's what it comes down to is when we have those moments, how do we change frequency? So when we have those moments of, I lost this person, I feel lonely, I am feeling guilt. When we have those moments, we're in the lowest frequency possible. What we need to do is we need to change the frequency. How do we get from down here to up here? It comes back to your discipline. So here's what I started to do. I started to say, okay, how do I get my mind? We have to know we're in that moment and change it right away. So when we're feeling like, oh my God, I'm sitting in my house alone, I'm feeling lonely. Two things we can do. We can change your heart rate. So here's what you can do. I'm saying now I'm a runner, which is crazy to even say, right? But you could go out, go for a run. And again, if you do this, if your heart rate goes from like this to up here, or if you just drop down on the floor and do some burpees, if your heart rate goes up that high, you can't think about anything else. All you're thinking about is your heart rate and trying to get your breath back. So immediately your frequency goes from here to up here and you forget about what's going on. Think about it this way. You're like, I need that drink. I need that drink. I need that drink. Well, if you're just sitting on the couch and continuing to think about it, you're going to go get it. What if in that moment you realize it, you drop on the floor and do 25 burpees. You're not thinking about the drink anymore. You're thinking, yeah, I need some water. Now, if it's 3:00 in the morning and you don't want to go out for a run and wake anyone up, the other thing you can do is if we're thinking about someone, whatever it is, I've hurt this relationship, this has happened, the highest frequency that we have, and this game changer for me, is love. Sending love to that person that we're missing, the guilt that we're feeling, and just think about the good moments, not the bad ones. The bad ones are going to bring our frequency down here. Just think about it. Man, I'm really missing that person. You know what? Hey, I'm thinking about you. I'm sending you love. I'm thinking about all the good moments that we had. Even if just saying it, just right away, you just feel better. Just send love. Just keep doing it. Oh, it doesn't matter if you over and over again. So those are the two things that I would say to start to get your mind to sharpen and get harder, change it right away. And it's not going to happen the first time. You're going to have to keep doing it. And the second you feel yourself getting back into that, go back to it. And that's going to be that daily focus. Are we removing that regret? So here's what I also do every day. When I wake up, the first thing I do is I journal, and I journal about where my thoughts were and what I regret from the day before. So if I'm having those moments of loneliness, I'll write it down. Feeling lonely in this moment, because I want to remove that feeling. I write it out. I want to remove it. And there's going to be days where it's that same feeling that we have. It's okay. Let's be aware of it. When we're aware of those things, just like the mistakes we made, are we aware of the mistake that we made? How do we fix it? So if we're aware that those emotions and those feelings are coming in, we need to remove them. Again, physical activity, right away, try it. There's no way you can do 25 burpees or go for a sprint down the street that your heart rate's not going to go up here and you'll forget about everything that's going on. So that's what I would say. I had to start to remove those things.
That's awesome. And it's
so practical.
Yeah, we've been doing these podcasts for a long time, and you're the first one that's ever said, do something physical to raise your vibration or your frequency. So that's some awesome advice. George, just quickly, you spoke about you've had coaches and mentors. What role have they played in your life?
Great question. And actually, this came up yesterday on my Instagram. it was, what was the biggest mindset shift for you, or one point? It's getting a coach. So pre-2020, not even knowing going into the pandemic, somebody had suggested I get a business coach. And I was like, I don't need one. I know everything, right? That's that ego. I don't need anyone. I don't need anyone. I don't need anyone. I know it all. And this coach kept talking to me, and then it was industry specific. And I wound up hiring him, and that changed it for me, because there were things that I just didn't even realize I didn't know about being process focused when it came to my business. How can I give more to my clients? So that person changed my thinking. And then they were industry specific. And then I started to say, okay, well, what else is out there? Then I started to get into mastermind groups and just being around a higher level of people that thought the same way, that wanted the same things. And again, I started to say, okay, well, the people that are around me are not doing anything for me. They're just taking from me. They're not giving me any value. They're just taking. Like, okay, need to level up. That's just what I've done. So the coaches for me and my current coach now, it's just that daily accountability for me. It's the weekly calls and all these groups that I'm in, just learning from the best people. So again, daily accountability, and what are they bringing to the table for me to help me get better? And I have a coach in every, so I hired for this year, I hired a running coach to get me better and build a program for me to get better at running. She actually just texted me just now. Yeah. But again, like, that's important. Again, and that's why for me, I think having a coach and having that accountability is super, super important, because then it gives you all those things. You just didn't even know that you need it. Again, we could think we know it all, but we don't. And that ego is what stops us from getting to the next level. The highest level people have coaches. Everyone has one. And if you don't have one, that's where you should seek to get it. It could be anyone, whatever that is that you think that you need. Find that person that can hold you accountable. But that was game changer for me. I'll always have a coach.
We have coaches, we belong in masterminds, and we totally agree. And it comes back to, I think John Maxwell talks about the law of association, who you hang around with and people like that. And the law of the lead, you can only raise your team if you're rising above that. Tell us about F3 coaching and your 3 Fs.
Yeah, so this is also a recent transition. So the 1F, the finance part of it, I've been in the financial services business for over a decade. And that has been my business. That is the foundation of just what I've built. And then I started to understand that there's other components to life to be financially successful. I never wanted to get into the coaching part of it. I just said, hey, and I didn't realize that I was actually coaching my financial clients too. But I started to think about all of the areas of my life that I coach myself on, that I get coached on, and said, okay, like, I'm having these conversations every single day. Let me put this together to help my community, to help the world. So the first one is family. And someone would go, well, you had a divorce. What do you know about that? I know a lot about that. I know a lot about it. I know what it means to make those mistakes. I know what it means to overcome those mistakes. But my family is still my family. My kids are going to be with me forever. So the first part is how do we continue to build that family dynamic? How do we focus on our relationships? How do we focus on mindset around that? The time we give to our kids, the fitness portion. We get one life. Mine was almost taken away a couple times. If we are not healthy, we're not going to be able to be here for our family and for our kids. And if we are not healthy, all the money you're looking to invest and save and grow, you're not going to be here to be able to enjoy it throughout your life. So if you don't have all those 3 pillars, you are not striving for excellence. You could make a lot of money, but you could be 400 pounds. Well, great. What good is it if you have a heart attack, right? What good is it if you can't get on the ground and run around with your kids and enjoy it if you have a lot of money? What are we teaching now? What example are we teaching our kids about eating unhealthy and doing those things, right, as we're bringing them up? So all those 3 pillars, that triangle, that's why the logo here, right? It's a triangle. They're all connected in every area, and we need to excel in every one. Again, your fitness, when we feel good and we look good, we have confidence. The confidence we have when we want to walk into our boss and ask for a raise. If we're not feeling good about ourselves, are we going to walk into that meeting feeling good? If we want to go into pitch a deal, I work with a lot of real estate agents, right? We want to go get a listing for a house. Well, if you're looking sloppy when you walk in your suit, your shirt's untucked, we know when you walk into a room and your clothes fit good and you feel good and you look good, people are attracted to that. Here's the other part that people forget. When you see someone that's in shape, there is a level of discipline that it takes to get to that level. So when my clients come to me, they go, okay, they see me and they're like, all right, we're going to give George our money, or we're going to come to George to talk about this. Does he have the discipline? You better believe I do. No one's going to outwork me. And it's important. I'm not walking in, again, hair sloppy, clothes not fitting the right way. So it all ties in. I want to have the confidence when I go to the beach with my kids that I can take my shirt off and my belly's not hanging over my shorts. No one wakes up and goes, I want to be out of shape. Again, you could say this. No one wakes up and goes, I want to be fat, unless I'm wrong here. No one says, I want to be more broke than I was yesterday. The problem is nobody wants to say it. I have no problem. If you're not feeling good about those things, no one says, hey, you know what? My spouse really wants to be intimate with me. That 15 extra pounds I have around my belly, they really love it. No, they don't. Come on. So it all ties together, right? So my goal is, how do we work on all of it? How do we work on getting yourself right, mindset, focus, discipline, getting your fitness in the areas? Let's give that time to our family because it all correlates, right? When we get that raise, when our business is going well and we're making more money, we have the ability to go on those vacations with our family, right? It all ties into it, right? Being able to say, okay, you know what? I work my butt off all day. I'm going to go and we're going to have a nice family dinner. We're going to go do those things. Like today, right? I got them later for dinner. I don't have a meeting in my time from 4 to 6 today. That's my time with them. We're going to have dinner. We're going to have gymnastics drop off. We're going to talk about, hey, what did we work on? That's it, right? It's my time with them. But I have the ability to do that because I already worked out. I already had my meetings for my clients. I'm already doing what I need to do to be able to give back to them. So it's all intertwined. That's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to just get back and just continue to build on what I built for the last 10 years. Just take it to that next level.
Awesome. What would you say to, as I said, you're a survivor, you face many challenges and you push through, but I want you to address fear. What do you do in the face of fear?
For me, I know that it all comes down to the preparation. Did I do the work? That's what it comes down to. So, and I'll give you an example of that. My goal, so I just recently said I hired a running coach. So in 2022, actually, here you go, just so you can understand just mindset. So in 21, someone that I know did the New York City Marathon, and I never ran before in my life. And I was like, I think I could do that. I hate running, but I think I could do it. Why not? I want a new challenge. So in the beginning of 22, I did the New York City half marathon. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to put my name in the hat in the lottery for the New York City Marathon. Millions and millions of people put their name in the lottery. I get picked. Of course I do, right? But I didn't really know what to do. I went to my CrossFit coach. I was like, hey, Dave, I need your help. And he was like, George, he's like, I've never trained anyone for a marathon. He's like, we can like put a program together. So we did like a hybrid of like CrossFit, sort of running. But that was at the time I was going through the divorce, still looking at the vices, eating like crap. I did the New York City Marathon. I was drinking the day before. Why I thought that was a good idea, but I did it. The first 15 miles, I did okay. Mile 15, I hit a wall. I wound up finishing it. I had to walk a little bit. I wound up doing it in 5 hours and 17 minutes. But I took some time off and I was like, okay, I'm like, no, I didn't do that the right way. So at the beginning of this year, I touched base with a friend of mine. I was like, hey, I need to hire you. High elite level runner. Like, I need to hire you as my coach. She was like, all right, let's do this. She's like, what's your goal? I go, sub 4 hours. So now I did New York in 5 hours, 17 minutes. I wanted to cut off over an hour. I was like, I don't even know if this is a 10. I was like, hey, I'm just going to do it. So I just started to train. I had signed up for the Chicago Marathon, which was 2 weeks ago. And I remember walking up to the starting line, and you get those butterflies and you get that nervous, that fear kicks in. And here's where my mindset was. It was, I did the work. Now, I wasn't lying to myself in the moment because I did the work. 18 weeks, not one workout missed, not one sip of alcohol, not one meal missed. I did the work. So it didn't matter if I got the sub 4 hours or not, because I did the work to lead to that. So there is really no fear. There might be nervousness and butterflies, which are always going to be there, but I'm not really afraid. I've never been afraid from a business perspective to try something, to make a change. This worked, this didn't work. I've always just been like, we're going to figure it out. It's part of just my inner, I just always had that. But I've taken that, what I've naturally just been, I mean, even just when I fought in the cage, I remember when that door shut going, holy shit, this person on the other side wants to kill me. But I did the work. And I ran that sub 4 hour marathon. I did it in 3 hours and 54 minutes.
Wow, good job.
It's just a matter of now, how do we just get it? Like I always had it. It was there. How do we get it to the next level? So for someone that is afraid to start, it's day one. We can't think about the end result because it's too overwhelming, right? Hey, I want to do $1 million in sales. Okay, did we do $1? Right? So if you want to do $1 million in sales, you have to sell essentially rounding. It's like $3,300 a day. $1 million is a big number. Did we do what we needed to do today? And you might not hit that goal today. That's okay. Did you do the work to do it? Did you make all your calls? Did you respond to everyone that you needed to? It's okay if you didn't do it, because just like in my going back to running, there were some days where, hey, the focus was you need to hit this for the workout. There were some days that I didn't hit it, but it didn't matter. I did the work. Maybe, hey, I got a bad night's sleep. Maybe there was something going on. Hey, I just wasn't feeling it. Body might have been just a little sore. It's okay. I still did the work. And guess what? The next day, the next program, I did it. Right? So super important there. We got to just remove those things, right? It's negativity. It's the fear is stopping you from doing what you want to do. It's we're letting the outside world and the opinions of everyone else affect what we want to do. Why does their opinion matter? If you want to start a business and your mom and dad and your family and your relatives never started a business, what does their opinion matter? They don't know any part of it. Right? I'll also say it's the opinions of others don't matter. If you've worked for something and built it and like the fancy watch, the fancy car, the big house, show it. You worked for it. Nobody gave it to you. So why are we letting the opinions of others, the opinions of people that never built anything or did anything, stop us? I hear it all the time. You're crazy. Why am I crazy? How about you're not crazy enough? So for me, I'll keep being crazy because I'm just going to keep getting to the next level and seeing where I could take this.
Awesome.
It sounds almost like you're saying, basically, it's really how bad do you want it? How bad do you want something rather than thinking about what you don't want or how something could turn out wrong? How bad do you want it?
That's it. You're like, oh my God, you're crazy. You wake up at 4 a.m. every day. I'm like, okay. And when I would do my long runs, I wake up at 3:30, go run for 2 hours, then I have my kids all day. How do you do it? I do it. I don't have a choice. If I want to get to where I want to go, I have to do it. It's the business owner that's working 27 hours a day. You don't have a choice. You got to feed your family. You got to put a roof over their head. You have to do it because everything else just becomes an excuse. I'm not feeling good. I'm going to hit the snooze button. Oh, I've let the last 5 years get away. Oh, okay, you can change it. You're in control of it all. My mom and dad didn't give this to me. Okay. I'm never going to let my kids give the excuse, mommy and daddy got divorced. Okay. So what? Can we learn from it? Can we be better from it? It doesn't matter. They're still going to be loved to the highest level ever. What does it matter? We're not going to let excuses get in the way. Oh, this happened. I've had businesses fail. The interest rates are high. I can't get new clients. You're making up excuses for why you're not where you want to be. And I just don't operate that way. And I don't let anyone now, even in my world, that even remotely thinks that way. If you're negative, I won't talk to you. I won't. I have no time for it. I've eliminated all of those people. If you're not at my frequency and bring any negativity, see it, let it go. That's it. I have no time for it.
Yeah, I suppose you got to look after your psyche. So we have 2 questions that we like to end.
Sure, absolutely. Let's do it.
First one is, what advice would you give to someone today that would want to start rewriting their life story?
Start today. That's it. Start today. You can rewrite it. If anyone can rewrite it, if I can be here with the both of you today on a podcast sharing my story, I should have been, again, dead a couple times. Businesses have failed, bad real estate decisions, right? Just everything, right? Like everything possible. The public shaming of mistakes that I made, like every single part of it could have destroyed me. Start today. You get one life, literally one life. And when you understand that and it clicks, just start today. Start somewhere. Here's what's most important. When you're going to rewrite it, it has to start with you. It has to start. It's the only way. You have to love yourself and get back to that. I just got chills just saying that because I know how hard that was for me in my deepest, darkest moments of being alone. It has to start with you. You have to love yourself. So start today. Do one thing that's going to move the needle for you.
Awesome, George. And if you were to go back and rewrite your life story now, what would that look like?
I wouldn't change it. And it's hard to say that, but it's true. I wouldn't change it because I have learned so much and I will only continue to learn. Because if I went back and said, oh, I would have done this differently, but I wouldn't have learned and I would have made mistakes in other areas. And I'm still going to make mistakes. So I'm still going to continue to learn. And that's where, again, just that first question is you can rewrite it today. We're going to learn things from yesterday that we can implement today in whatever we do and the interactions we have with people, right? Can we be that light, that energy that changes someone else? So for me, that's just really my focus. I wouldn't change any part of it. I've learned from those mistakes and I can just be better. And that's what I'm looking to do.
Awesome.
George, thank you so much for your time. And if you want to know more about George and his coaching and everything he does, his social handles will be on the show notes as well as his website. George, again, it's been great having you on today's episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys as well. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity. I look forward to connecting in the future.
Now that we've interviewed our guest, join Charlene and I as we recap today's episode. Well, I got so many gems from that podcast.
It's just amazing how much wisdom he's had in these years that he's had.
And I love the fact that negative thoughts consume energy and actually decrease our frequency.
I know, the fact that you can actually do something physical to raise that frequency is just amazing.
I know, it's a really great way of shifting your thoughts and shifting that energy level, not focusing on the negative, but do something physical to raise your heart rate. Yeah, that was great. Bad days are test days.
I love that. He's like, that's probably one of my favorite parts because I always talk about that with some of my clients that, you know, when we need to practice resilience, is looking at those hard times as positives, as bonuses, because we get to with so much lessons we can learn from them.
And I love the fact that everything that's happened to him, he's taking the lessons, he's teaching. And I know we did something a few weeks ago on social media where we spoke about the pain, like healing comes in community. But the reason you go through things is so that you can teach others that come behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that he's vulnerable and willing to admit those mistakes that he's made and say, yeah, I've made mistakes and I'm learning from them and I want to help other people through that.
Thank you for listening to our podcast today. We hope you found it informative and inspiring. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share it with your friends and family. Also, make sure to visit our website at www.rewriteyourlifestory.com.au to learn more about our mission, products and services. And remember, you have the power to rewrite your own life story. So go out there, face your challenges head on and create the life you've always wanted. We'll see you in the next episode.